and Kane would take the chain and hit Khali in the nuts with it. Then Kane would pick up.
I didn't even sell that one right either.
Then Kane would pick up Khali and hit him with the body slam in Detroit. Well, there's the throwback.
I guess.
Well, yeah, I guess is right. Was definitely not the same as when Hogan body slammed Andre at WrestleMania 3.
No.
He'd go for the pin and Khali would power out. Kane would go for a choke slam, but Khali would grab his hand around Kane's neck as well. Then Khali would deliver the Khali plunge and would place his foot on top of Kane for the pin and the win.
Like, can we also acknowledge that it took him forever to pin him?
Yeah.
Like, he just stood there for like an extra 10 seconds not knowing what he was going to do. Like, I literally saw him circle around the arena, like, look around the arena, and he's like, oh shit, I should probably put my foot on him.
Oh, then following the match, Khali would grab Kane's hook and try to choke him with it. Really bad match, to say the least.
Wow.
Half a star.
I was nice, though. I gave it 1.
You were extremely nice. But unfortunately, this actually may have not been the worst match in the show. But we'll get into that way later in the program.
Yeah.
So Khali would win in 5 minutes and 30 seconds. Next, we'd have Crime Time and Eugene.
Eugene just got his head shaved.
Yep, he just had his head shaved bald by Mr. McMahon, they'd say.
Yep.
And Crime Time was looking to cheer him up. So they'd bring out the Extreme Expose, and they begin dancing. And Crime Time, they were obviously into this, but Eugene didn't seem to be into this until we saw Mae Young and Moolah, and would begin dancing with them instead. Yeah, going back watching this particular thing, I so probably would have thought that was going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
Because granted, they try to have them show up when you'd least expect it, but yeah, this was just made for them.
And may I remind you that this segment stopped like 5 times?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we're not done yet. So, then Slick, Dusty Rhodes, Sergeant Slaughter, IRS, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, and others would all appear and join the little dance party. Then Ron Simmons would appear and say, damn, because that's all he was saying during those days.
Yeah.
Then finally, we'd be back with some wrestling here. We'd have the United States Championship on the line as Chris Benoit would defend against challenger MVP Montel Vontavious Porter.
Surprisingly, a very good technical wrestling match.
Yes, actually. This would be MVP's first WrestleMania match, and he'd make a nice entrance. It'd be a big first Mania match. He'd be facing one of the best, Benoit. The two would lock up to begin. Benoit would be in control early with some good mat wrestling. Then MVP would do some mat wrestling of his own, holding his own with Benoit. Then, yeah, I think that was really I
think that's a tone setter, I want to say.
Well, I don't know if it was so much that. I just think it was just, in terms of the match, maybe, starting out that way, if that's what you're meaning.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, because usually, because the opener's always the tone setter, but yeah, maybe like early on, they set the tone like at the mat wrestling and whatnot, showing that MVP was gonna bring it here.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't mean a tone setter as in like for the show. I meant a tone setter for the match.
Okay, I got you then. Sorry. So this would actually be a bit of a surprise match because you knew with Benoit being in even at this stage, he knew he was gonna have a bad match, but it was still even then better than you'd probably expect. So Benoit would place MVP on the top turnbuckle and give him a chop, then look for a superplex, but MVP would grab his arm and then drop to the floor while holding it and attempt to do some damage. MVP would try to work on the arm, and then Benoit would hit 3 German suplexes in a row. MVP would hit a suplex on Benoit, but Benoit would immediately follow up with a small package and get a 2 count. Pretty good stuff there.
Yeah.
MVP would then send Benoit arm first into the ring post, followed by a belly-to-belly suplex and pin attempt for 2. Then MVP would go back to working on the arm. Benoit would try to put the crossface on MVP, but the effects of the damaged arm would prevent him from locking it in. Psychology 101. Benoit would look to hit the 3 Germans again, but wasn't able to get the third. But then he'd be able to eventually hit it. But he'd follow up with the 3 German suplexes, with the last being a Ruiz German. Benoit would then go to the top and hit the diving headbutt and cover MVP for the win. Good psychology, pretty good match. I actually believe it's kind of underrated, not going to lie.
Oh, yeah. Dude, MVP definitely took a very devastating diving headbutt. Like, that was, like, straight to the heart.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was a pretty devastating diving headbutt. Because there was 2 different kinds. There was, like, the one where he'd dive and, he'd hit him, like, in the heart, which I guess they try to make that, the ideal kind of, like, point of the move. And then there'd be other ones where he basically kind of, like, just dropped down.
Right.
So, definitely an underrated match, especially for the show in terms of everything, because, like, with, like, the 3, big matches, don't know if you call, there's the one main event match deal, but, they could be more than one main event quality match on a show in, like, attractions. So, like, with everything else going on, I actually thought that this was, really fun and enjoyed watching it.
Let's also not forget, fun fact, that this has been one of the last Mania.
Yeah, of course, the reasoning for it, we all know why, so.
Yeah, very touchy subject, not going to get into that.
But, as I said on the WrestleMania 21 show, if you have not yet, I'd highly recommend go check out the part 1 and 2 of the Dark Side of the Ring documentary they did on Benoit.
Yes, that is a very good documentary, and they just came out with a new part on New Jack.
Yeah, that was for this week's show. So, yeah, they did a part 1 and part 2 on Chris Benoit. So, if you have not yet, go ahead and check that out. But, MVP also, he just, as we said, he just went out there and he showed he could hang with Benoit on the grandest stage of them all. I guess one thing I wish would have been different about this is I wish they just would have had more time, simply. But
Right.
they sure made the most of it.
Yeah, they definitely did.
So,
What did I get? I forgot. What was the rating again?
3.5.
Yeah.
So Chris Benoit would be the winner. I went 3.25, but I definitely enjoyed this match. Then we'd have the Donald Trump and Boogeyman segment, where Boogeyman would try to scare Trump, and Trump would not react to him whatsoever. Very odd segment.
Yeah, he was like, "You just give me some food. I'm hungry."
And he kept going, "I'm the Boogeyman. I'm coming to get ya."
He's like, "Yeah, and I'm."
Mildly funny, maybe, but I will say one thing: this show had for whatever reason some like very odd segments, very weird ones.
Yep.
Then we'd have the footage from the Hall of Fame ceremony from the night before. This was, of course, the class of 2007, which featured good old JR, Jim Ross, The Sheik, the Wild Samoans, Nick Bockwinkel, Mr. Fuji, Jerry Lawler, Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig, and Dusty Rhodes. Then,
those are some, man, that is a star-studded Hall of Fame.
yeah, that was actually a very good class. Then after that, William Garcia would announce the attendance for the evening, which was recorded as 80,103, as I pointed out earlier. Then Howard Finkel would introduce the inductees and the family members of the inductees who, either weren't able to be there, having passed away, unfortunately. But I always loved how they ended up doing that with the Hall of Fame. They bring them out, give them that one last, I guess, send off with the crowd. Where they'd all acknowledge them. And I do like that Hall of Fame song. I like it better than the one they read with now. Not that the one they do now is bad, but nothing beats the classics. So now we'd have the World Heavyweight Championship match. Oh boy, we'd have Batista defend against The Undertaker. The Undertaker's now 14-0 undefeated WrestleMania streak against Batista's world title. Sorry.
If I'm not mistaken, I want to also, Batista is also undefeated Mania heading into that.
Technically, yeah. Technically, he was, yeah.
Fun fact.
Yeah, I paused there for a second because I wanted to give you a chance to say something. So, before the video package, though, they'd show the results of a poll which were displayed, which had 82% voting for The Undertaker to win. Not surprising.
No, not at all.
But Undertaker is obviously, the big favorite, especially in this building. They're all on his side.
Oh, yeah. I don't think there was one Batista fan.
Yeah.
Batista.
There you go. This was the original Batista. Undertaker would earn this opportunity by winning the Royal Rumble and would choose Batista as his opponent. Undertaker would chokeslam Batista on that night that he made his decision, and that would be the first spark of the feud. Then at No Way Out 2007, a show which we covered in full detail and length. So if you have not yet, go ahead and check that out. That was a part of the February set of rewinds. So if you have not yet, go ahead and give that a listen. We would greatly appreciate it. On that night, Undertaker and Batista would team together in a tag team match against John Cena and Shawn Michaels, who were also WrestleMania opponents in the main event. Would actually make for a really good match. Really good tag team match.
Yeah, that was the only good match that show.
Yeah, that was the big highlight. So it was good to have a fun main event. But and it was especially surprisingly shocking how good it was because they were WrestleMania opponents. So I mean, Cena and Michaels were, I guess, a tag team for a bit. Whatever. But
they were tag team champions.
They were still to this point too. But I guess it was just surprising still because it's like they're technically not supposed to like each other. So, they still work together for like that length, up until, the end. But Undertaker would dominate towards the end in that, and Batista would hit Taker with a spine buster and would leave him high and dry for Cena and Michaels to win the match. Batista would also... Oh, sorry, you go.
Payback's a bitch. What JBL said that night.
Yep, that is what he would say. Batista would also say that he wasn't going to be intimidated by Undertaker, and that was part of what they'd used to, build this match off of, is him making that statement. He'd go into this showing that he wouldn't be intimidated and he wouldn't back down from Taker. This is one of my all-time favorite WrestleMania matches. One of the selling points for me of even doing this rewind.
Yeah. It is definitely a selling point on this because, again, probably going into this show, this was probably the best, build-up feud on anything.
Oh, yeah, this could have been the main event.
Yeah, for why it wasn't is beyond me.
I think they just wanted Cena to have the main event, so... And he was their biggest star, so...
I mean, yeah, but, if you think about it, he got the main event the year before.
Yeah, that's true.
Again, Cena did it first. For those of you who complain about Roman.
Teddy Long would do the introductions for Batista and Undertaker during their entrances. Loved Taker's entrance. Batista would start the match by taking it to Taker right away with the spear. And then Batista would Irish whip Taker into the steel steps. Batista would go to the top rope, which was a rarity, and would do a shoulder block off the top.
I swear to God, I've never seen Batista jump off the top rope. I swear to God.
That would be what Michael Cole would say. Taker would get back into this match by firing off with some rights. He charged Batista in the corner a couple times. Taker would hit Snake Eyes, followed up by a big boot. And then next, Taker would hit Old School. And then he would attempt a choke slam, but Batista would fight out of it. Taker would duck the clothesline and come off the ropes with the flying clothesline. Taker would do the famous leg drop on the apron. He'd do the famous Undertaker dive over the top to the outside. A picture-perfect one at that, too.
Yeah, he did not fall on his head.
Oh, God. Undertaker still outside of the ring with Batista would try to Irish whip Batista, but Batista would reverse with an Irish whip of his own, sending him into the timekeeper's table.
You wonder why he has bad knees.
There you go. Yeah, between that one and especially the steel steps one, because he did the Foley bump where he just flew over it too.
Yeah.
Batista would then take the ECW announcer's table apart and then do a running power slam, driving Undertaker through it from the Raw announce table.
He You know what's funny? Like the ECW